a couple weeks in this homeless shelter in Maine, and I got exposed to some crazy stuff. Wow. And this one guy, said that you can shoot up crack or something like that.
Yeah, vinegar, lemon juice.
If you put it in lemon or something. Yeah. So
that's Chris's shit right there. That's
so easy to buy crack. You can never buy powder on the street.
So I wasn't questioning anything. Yeah. I was going with the flow, and he gives me all the works, and he says, we're outside of the McDonald's, and he says, go inside and do it. I said, because at that point I had never done it myself. I said, I don't know how to do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just spent the good part of 3 hours watching none other than a Nick Reiner podcast, okay? Apparently, Nick Reiner was making his rounds back in the day when that movie came out. Now, there's this podcast called Dopey, and as the title might sound to you, they talk about doing drugs. They talk about getting clean, relapsing. They talk about going to facilities to get clean, and they invite Nick Reiner on because he's this new poster child for sobriety, right? With the movie he's making with his father, so on and so forth. And I think this, along with a lot of other things, are going to paint a story about Nick Reiner against the whole schizophrenic, lost his mind narrative, okay? This kid knew what he was doing from the age of 14 years old. And we're going to go through some snippets that I've pulled out to really hammer this idea home. Some people just know what they want to do. Like, for example, me. I knew I wanted to be fully tatted as an adult. As a kid, I wanted to do that shit. I don't know why. I thought it was cool. As an adult, I'm still chasing that goal. I feel like certain people just know what they want to do. Like, I'm going to do those drugs. I'm going to go to that party and nobody's ever going to stop me. That's not so much schizophrenia and mental problems as much as it is just somebody who's hard-headed. And listen, I really think this is going to hurt his claim to being innocent by reason of insanity, because he goes through so many stories we're going to get into. How he basically just flipped rehab after rehab after rehab and still got high with people inside of the rehab. Everything he's going to tell you in this episode points toward him not giving a fuck what his parents thought, not caring what the rest of society thought, and he's going to get his. This dude was doing heroin. He was doing crack mixed with lemon juice and shooting it up in McDonald's. Okay? He was doing all types of stimulants. He was doing all types of pills. I'm actually surprised he's still alive. But, without further ado, shout out Dopey, man. They do these podcasts, and it seems as though most of their content revolves around getting clean. And I'll tell you one thing. This guest that came onto this show today, Nick Reiner, he wasn't about none of that shit. He speaks fondly about getting fucked up. But without further ado, folks, let's go ahead and check this thing out. I actually wrote notes this time. The podcast is so long. But anyways, let's go ahead and do this thing. So since we started off with Nick Reiner's whole movie, let's talk about that, and let's start with that point, right? Apparently, the story goes that Nick was in rehab at the time when he wrote the story. I'm not sure how true it is because all of this is coming from Nick himself, so he can be skewing this information a little bit. But story goes, he was with a friend in rehab, and they wrote a story loosely based off of their life. And when he got out of rehab, he wanted to reconcile with his father, and he did his best to stay sober and be a poster child for the movie, okay? But even then, even at that point, he couldn't help but get high directly after the events. So let's go ahead and talk about his movie, and let's move on from there.
But I just want to clarify some stuff. Because Nick, this movie was very big. You did all the big shows. You're on fucking Howard Stern. Well, I mean, you're probably
the movie wasn't big. I think the topic was big because
your dad is big. And the release was big. It was in the Daily News. It was in a lot of places. I saw it around.
I know, but it was just released in a couple of theaters. So it was. I think. Oh yeah, sorry.
No, please, no, because you know better than I do.
You don't sound like. Did you like the movie, or is it?
You didn't love the movie?
I feel like I didn't get to express how I truly felt in it.
Well, that was where I was.
How much creative control did you have?
1/3, and 1/3 technically, and 1/8
In reality.
realistically.
Okay.
Well, this is the first question. It's like the story is supposed to be, and I'm not talking about the story of the movie. I'm saying in order to promote the movie, you kind of have to be sober. You kind of have to be a poster boy for recovery, and you didn't want to be that.
I said to them, listen, I'm not in the position to do this. I'm not a quote-unquote sober guy. I'm going to have to go on to these talk shows. They said, you got to do it. They want the whole father-son angle. It just shows you how disgusting the PR.
Of course.
I mean, just the story.
And don't try to put it on the PR people for making them be the disgust. Oh, it just shows how disgusting the PR people are, and they just care about ratings. They need the angle. Sir, you went to fucking rehab and you wrote a story about getting clean or about the struggles on drugs. Obviously, they're going to assume that you're at least attempting to be sober when you show up. I mean, listen, I'm not a sober guy either, you know? But if somebody was to tell me like, hey, Alan, don't drink no beers, don't smoke no weed, I need you to show up fully sober. I can show up fully sober. And, you know, you might say, oh, he's addicted, this, that, but I'm not that addicted. You know, it's like, holy shit, you can't come to an event without getting high or drinking. Oh, I'm not in the position to be the poster boy of sobriety. Motherfucker, you need to be there for 2 hours. Get high any other time. But I just find it's kind of funny that he's bitching about even those aspects of a movie that's about sobriety. But don't worry. The more we listen to this person, I was going to say my psychopathic. I want all my schizophrenic gang to comment in and weigh in. Does this man have schizophrenia? Because I know we got some people who probably pop a few pills for the schizo, right? What do you think about this? I think the schizophrenia diagnosis is bullshit. I mean, we're in California, baby. LA. Man, hold $20,000 and give me a prescription for schizophrenia or some shit. Who knows? I'm just saying that can easily happen, but let's get back into it.
So I just went out there and I just realized, look, you know, I'm have a voice to some degree. I'm gonna say what I gotta say while I'm here.
At least you didn't sell out. You know what I mean? You stuck to your guns. Right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. No, yeah.
But you would say you were like, I'm sober today, and you didn't like fucking. You were like, you didn't want to like get into the water, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it put you in a really bad spot.
It did. It was hard.
Was it really uncomfortable?
Yeah. It was uncomfortable, but I felt like it was like part of the job, part of what I had to do.
It was the job. Let me ask you a question. You don't have to answer.
No, I like where you're going.
Would you like get high afterwards, after the appearance?
Yeah, I would. I'd smoke a joint on the roof of my apartment.
Let me ask you something
after,
else.
Please, he's answering the question.
And in a very hard, I mean, hard to be this honest, but right? Should I? I mean, yeah, I would not ever go on to these things like, you know, coked up or anything like that. I try to be straight, use the appearance as my motivation to be straight, do as best I could on it, and then afterwards enjoy a joint.
And afterwards, enjoy a joint. Man, he makes stoners look so bad, man. Listen, this is one of the few cases to where such a stoner turns out to be such a fucking psycho, bro. Because I promise you, this is one of them rare cases. Meth, sure. Cocaine, sure. Alcohol, sure. But the weed couldn't even calm this psychopath down. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I guarantee you that he went to them places coked up. The fact that he says that, oh, I tried to stay straight and I didn't even get coked up. Man, he likes to party. He smoked before the event, he smoked after, and he probably played with his nose in the bathroom. Allegedly. I don't know. I'm just talking shit. I don't know. But I just find it hilarious that behind the scenes, you're pushing out this, you know, making my father proud, going on all these talk shows. Behind the scenes, you're just a druggie still. And it's a difference between being someone fighting with drugs and trying to do better and someone just being a druggie and not caring. He's the second option.
Did you ever do like dope after or anything like that?
That's why you
didn't shoot coke or dope this year.
No, and I haven't done that in about 3 or 4 years.
There's no moderating with that. Shooting coke.
There's no moderating. That's a whole life right there.
Was your dad? Did your dad know you were getting stoned?
Yeah.
Would he get pissed?
No.
He didn't give a fuck. He's a hippie, your dad,
The reason
right?
he's a hippie.
Yeah.
And they're very understanding.
Well, they're happy you're doing well.
But see, me saying this, I feel first of all horrible about copping to the fact that I. But
Do you feel horrible in front of us about it?
He feels horrible in front of the Dopey Nation.
Dopey Nation, I'm sorry. Also, in front of you guys.
This is not the choir group, and you don't have to feel upset about it.
But I feel a little hypocritical myself.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I'm more open-minded than you are.
Because I've made...
So they go on to discuss things. They go on to discuss rehab. There's some strange, weird trucks passing my apartment. Anyway, he goes on to discuss rehab, discuss the movie, how hard it is for him to stay sober in the appearances. And then they move on to basically his past, right? Now we're getting into rehabs that he's been in, okay? Now, these guys are former drug addicts themselves, right? Self-proclaimed former drug addicts. That's why the podcast is called Dopey. I think it's a dope idea, to be honest. I think it's really cool. So they start to talk about that. And Nick, he's got some stories.
Now that we've gotten all the fucking
I'll get right into
philosophy
it.
out of the way.
All right, tell the Alina Lodge.
I'll get my stupid philosophy out of the way. So I was in Alina Lodge, what you just described is a terrible place.
And the big thing is Mackenzie Phillips got sober there. That's like their big fame. Like, claim to fame.
Oh yeah, they
played her speaker.
They
tape
name
for us.
drop like it's TMZ.
Yeah.
And I got kicked out of there.
I feel like it's kind of ironic that he brings up TMZ because, boy, you all over them. You all over their website right now. Shit, they name dropping all right. But anyways, let's hear about one of the first times he gets kicked out of rehab. Shocker.
And I spent 6 months there, and they dropped me off at the Salvation Army in Newark, New Jersey. And so,
Wait, why'd you get kicked out?
I did a bunch of bad. I just wasn't having it. I was just like, this sucks. Like, I'd mouth off. Like, they'd make you sit in those lectures. And you
Was Schottinger there? Mark Schottinger?
I chose to forget every name because
Do people treat you bad because you're Rob Reiner's son?
they don't treat me badly, but I get treated in an uncomfortable way. Like I can't just be here with it. It's sort of like it's sort of like let's hear about this thing, and it's like I'm trying to get sober. I don't want to deal with this whole other thing right now.
Yeah.
But like I got kicked out of there, and then I was living in New York City, and I met up with a girl that I met from there, who I'd never met before, but I'd seen her every day for 6 months.
Yeah.
Because you see them, like...
You can't talk to the women, and it's funny, because some guys will be, like, with somebody, sort of, and they've never actually talked to them.
Yeah.
You're like, making eyes
You're
at
like
each other.
flying notes to each other, and like there's a divide in the mess hall, and the staff members, like Gestapo members, would walk up and down the aisleways and to check if you were directed
Dude, did you
forwards.
draw the pictures?
No.
Okay, so when we were there, you draw pictures on Saturday, and they'd hang them in the mess hall. So the guys and the girls used to try to communicate with each other because they would so I'd draw a picture and they'd hang it up in the mess hall and all the girls would. So you could look at the girls' ones and they'd sign their name and you could try to determine from their imagery if they were speaking to you.
Wow, that's intricate.
And this is where things start to get odd for me. Nick even said himself that he doesn't really like girls like that. Not that he's like gay or anything. I think he said something he said some psychopathic shit, basically. Like, he doesn't really like girls too much, but he likes their bodies. I don't want to misquote it, but he likes doing the stuff with them, but he doesn't really like girls. Some weird shit like this. And then we're going to move on. He gets kicked out of rehab. He's talking about rehab. Now we move into, he's going to recount, an actual sexual experience with somebody. And listen, I ain't never had no experience like this before. So maybe I'm just, but I feel like he's the signs were there, folks. The signs were there. Let's continue.
We weren't that smart. I was. Wait, what was?
How did you woo the girl?
Okay, so the girl.
Yeah, how did that happen?
I love this story because it's crazy, and I was 100% sober for it. Great. So I planned to meet this woman I've never met, who's 40 years old, and keep in mind
She was 40?
Yeah, I was 18 at the time.
Were you having an eyeball romance in there?
No, that was the thing.
Okay.
She was just maybe I'd go over, do some blow with her. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I show up, literally
Mind you, he just gets out of rehab, and the first thing on his mind is maybe I could go hang out with her and do some blow with her. Does this sound like a listen? This guy he is a drug connoisseur with a little bit of psychopath sprinkled in on it. That's what it is.
Out of a movie.
Wait, I'm sorry. Where are we right now? You show up where?
In Manhattan.
Okay, so you've gotten kicked out.
I got from New Jersey to New York, and I was out here for about 6 months.
How'd you get in contact with her? Note from Rehab?
At Facebook or something.
okay.
Like you got in contact with me.
Yeah.
I show up and there's a coke dealer outside of the apartment already, and they're doing. And I'm like, could this actually be happening right now? Yeah. And so the guy's like super sketched out. He leaves. We go back up into the apartment. She's railing lines of cocaine, and I didn't really want to get too intimate with her and make out with her. So one thing led to another. We got in the shower, and can we talk about this guy?
Yeah.
Okay. No. We can talk about everything besides sex.
Dude, I tell a story.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
I tell a story where I was shooting meth and a guy was begging to let him suck my dick while I was watching porn, saying no and jerking off.
Okay, perfect.
So you can say anything.
Well,
You can
awesome.
say anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm fingering her in the shower.
Listen, no comment to that story. You were doing what? And somebody was trying to do what? And you were watching what? And doing when? Around another man? Listen, no comment. No comment, Dopey crew. Let's get back to Nick Reiner's story.
Shower. So one thing led to another. We got in the shower, and can we talk about this guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. We can talk about everything besides sex.
Dude, I tell a story.
I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Say
wow.
whatever you want.
I tell a story where I was shooting meth and a guy was begging to let him suck my dick while I was watching porn, saying no and jerking off.
Okay,
So you
perfect.
can say anything.
Well,
You
that's
can say
awesome.
anything.
Okay, so I'm fingering her in the shower, and she's really sort of small, and I guess I pulled my finger out, and there was something on the tip of it, and it was a brown color, and it was shit, and I think I accidentally was fingering her asshole, and she finished me off, and then I left. I left.
Now, hold on. So many questions. One, she was okay with it. So that's an interesting situation in itself. Two, I have never fingered a woman's asshole and not known about it. How do you go from vagina to asshole? I don't get it. I don't understand. And this is why I feel like this is just another example of Nick Reiner just being a weirdo. Even sexually, he just does creepy shit. Like what? Maybe he's just inexperienced. Maybe. But I feel like that was just one of the strangest stories to just happily tell the boys. If I missed the asshole, sorry. If I missed the vagina and put it in the asshole, I think I'll keep that to myself. But again, this is just painting a story, in my opinion, of a very aware young man. He's not kooky. He's not in the clouds. He's very aware. While he's doing these drugs and doing these crazy things, he's very aware. Okay? And also, with the shit on his finger, why would you finger her ass when you're doing cocaine? She probably shit herself while you were fingering it. Let's continue.
The place, and and this is
How did she finish you off?
she she took her hand and she did me a service.
It was a manual.
It was a manual. Yeah.
She did the good old manual crank. You know what I'm saying? I guess she gets fingered and you get the good old fashioned handy. I mean, fair exchange, I guess. But that story is just so odd to me, gang. Let's keep it going though.
I said my goodbyes and I left, and this is where it gets sad.
Yeah.
I learned 3 months later that she had herself.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like
It was because she never wanted to be fingered in her ass.
And my friend makes the joke that she killed herself because she's so ashamed of what happened with me.
Yeah, it was because you fingered her asshole.
Yeah.
She was like, "Why are you sticking your fingers in my ass? My life isn't worth living anymore."
oh man, that's
And
why.
you know what? That's just hilarious. And that's just funny. Nick Reiner just making jokes about the dead girl that he fingered. Oh, it's probably because she was so embarrassed. I don't know, bro. It's odd, bro. It's odd. But anyways, you would think that, maybe he has a few of those experiences. He sees this girl die and she died off of the drugs. She was probably railing some lines of cocaine that wasn't cocaine one day, and that was that. So you would think you would maybe straighten out. Nope. He goes to another rehab facility. But this time, okay, in this particular story, he's talking all out of order, but in this particular story, he tries heroin and he tries a little bit of crack. You know what I'm saying? Listen, no time ever in my life do I think I would ever be this ballsy to do this shit. He really just, I feel like this is what happens. People with no life experience think that doing crack and heroin and all this stuff is just a fun experience. They don't understand how it destroys entire communities. You know what I'm saying? People who come from poorer areas, they're never doing crack. They're never doing heroin. That's a forbidden sin. They call that shit dog food. We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? But coming from a rich kid's perspective who's never gone through anything, never saw the homeless guy slowly dying at the side of the store every day when you go pick up your blunts or whatever, he doesn't have those experiences, so he thinks all these drugs are cool and just, amazing. Boy, nah, them shits will fuck your life up. Fucking, what's the word? Hypnotherapy, schizophrenic. I don't know why I can't think. Schizophrenia, my ass, brother. Nah.
I had just gotten kicked out of a halfway house in Maine for shooting heroin. And I was there for 7 days, and I confided in my friend there. I said, look, because I felt guilty about it. I was like, look, I got something to tell you. And he's like, what is it? And I was like, if I tell you, you can't repeat it to anybody. Like, I just need to get this off my chest. And I said, look,
was it Foundation's house?
It might have been.
Bruh, 7 days into your next facility, brother, and you're shooting heroin? Holy fuck. You know what I mean? Like, damn. Let me get some of that black tar. What y'all got? Thump that shit. I'm a millionaire, by the way. Yeah, fuck yeah. That's that shit. I don't get it. I don't understand it, bro. It has to be a different perspective on life for you to just want to throw your shit away for some heroin. Well, that's not even cool drugs. Cool drugs are like weed and cocaine and shit, quote unquote. Like heroin, that's not even like. Anyways.
All right, sorry.
I don't care, actually. And he goes, okay, what is it? And I said, well, I've been shooting up and I've been doing heroin. And he's like, well, I'm going to your counselor right now. And I said, no.
A friend of yours?
Yeah. And I said, what? Like, not even a discussion of where you've been, just...
How you doing, man?
Insisting that I tell the counselor. So I go and I tell him, and almost immediately I'm kicked out, and I get the ultimatum. It's back to another rehab, which I've just been to like 3 back-to-back 3-month stints.
Yeah. Like
in all these different states, and I'm in Maine. And I was like, no, I'm doing the homeless thing. I don't care.
I'm venturing out.
Yeah, this is on the road, Jack Kerouac. Here we go.
And this is where crack comes into play. You love to see it. This man with a wealthy family just said, nope, I'm going to be homeless. And this is where we run into his homeless stint, okay? Homeless by choice. You got your sisters, your sister, your brother, your family. Everybody's eating inside, warm, cozy, watching some Netflix, maybe even smoking a little ganja, maybe even playing with their nose a little bit. But you are out here smoking crack and doing heroin. I don't understand.
And so I spent, a couple weeks in this homeless shelter in Maine, and I got exposed to some crazy stuff. Wow. And this one guy, said that you can shoot up crack or something like that.
Vinegar, lemon juice.
If you put it in lemon or something. Yeah. So
that's Chris's shit right there. That's
so easy to buy crack. You can never buy powder on the street.
So I wasn't questioning anything. Yeah. I was going with the flow, and he gives me all the works, and he says, we're outside the McDonald's, and he says, go inside and do it. I said, because at that point I had never done it myself. I said, I don't know how to do it. He's like, you just got to do it. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So then I went into the McDonald's bathroom, and I'm, searching around. I see the blood, and I do it. and it's the most incredible feeling I've ever felt.
Yeah.
And like I didn't realize how long I was in that bathroom, but when I opened the door, there's like a Starbucks line, like waiting for the bathroom, and I just passed all of these people like high on coke, and I just make my way out.
No. You weren't high on coke, my brother. You weren't high on coke. You were high on that crack. You were on that Pookie. You were on that Dave Chappelle. you were on that Chris Rock. You know what I'm saying? You was on that shit. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Yeah, nah, bro. Time out, brother. What? Huh? Fuck out of here. But nah, he's schizophrenic though. He has a fragile mental state, and he's schizophrenic, and he didn't know what he was doing. All right, and before we get out of here, I just want to show you one more section of this interview to where he kind of talks about his upbringing and the first time he experienced using like harder drugs. And I do think this is a serious topic. I think he does have a good point, shockingly. He recalls this as he got caught doing some drugs, blah, blah, blah. We're going to hear it. But the reason he got into the hard shit was because they sent him to rehab, because he met other people there who were addicted to harder shit. So I really want to play this section, and then I want to show you one more thing, so stick around.
Did you run with the high-powered, rich, party Hollywood types?
No.
That was never your thing.
No, because they didn't want to get down like that, you know.
They drink and club and
they
bottles.
drink, you know, sip some coke and stuff like that. But there's no huge parties. The people that are doing the kind of stuff I was doing, it's, you know, there were, you know, I'm not gonna say who they were, but there were kids that I grew up in the same sort of situation that would meet this, you know, the
Were
same
you
end.
Southern California? Is that where you grew up? In L.A. or something?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica.
Of course.
Well, that's how you.
Of course he grew up in Santa Monica. Anyways.
Good promises. Were Promises Malibu?
Yeah, like at the
Don't they promise to get you off of drugs?
No, that's Passages.
That's Passages.
Yeah.
With it was funny because like the more and more I went to rehab, the shittier they got, the more hardcore they got. So like at first it was the fluffy Malibu ones, and then it turns into like, you know,
Alina Lodge.
the Alina Lodge,
so
Burning Tree.
The first fancy one I went to was Sierra Tucson, and then after that I like insisted to go to Newport Beach, and I went to this place, Oceans Recovery.
You insisted.
Yeah, well, they wanted to send me to this place called Grey Wolf in Washington, and which was probably a much better place. But I was like, everybody's going to Newport. Like, I want to go to Newport.
You're such a piece of shit.
I actually was such a little.
I would have done that.
Yeah, I was like,
when you're high on shit, you say so much, and then when you're like off of it all, you're like, oh, why did I agree to do it?
Well, I wasn't even high. I was in my primary treatment, and and they were like, everybody was going to aftercare in Southern California, and they were trying to send me to the state of Washington, and I threw a little hissy fit, like a spoiled brat with my parents, like, I want to go to the beach area in person.
In hell. Stories aside, like
It's because, you know, here's the real thing. When you have a conversation, what are the conversations behind closed doors in rehab when you're waiting for the staff to leave? It's this.
That's what this is.
That's what the show is.
This is the meeting after the meeting, like we like to say.
That's not what they say at the meeting after my meeting.
They say it.
I'm going to my meeting.
What was the first time you shot dope?
Yeah, there's very few stories at the meeting after my meeting.
What was the first time you shot dope?
Yeah, what was the first time you shot dope?
Interesting. First roommate I ever had in a rehab. First time I went to rehab, I never.
What'd you go to rehab for?
It was sort of one of those bad, wrong places, wrong time. Like I was at this kid's house, and to make a long story short, we all took a lot of pills, some Percocet, Xanax kind of stuff. It was all party there, and one thing, I took some pills obviously, and one thing led to another, and it's me, this other dude, his sister, and we went up to his room, and he's like lying face down on his bed, and like not like passed out fucked up, like not responsive fucked up.
Yeah.
And like we're kids. I'm 14, 15. I don't know what the hell to do.
Yeah.
And like that whole classic thing, if I call the cops, I get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know? And so luckily his parents came home within like, you know, a minute of that happening. They rushed him to the hospital.
Yeah.
I think they pumped us. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah.
But I'm standing outside, and this woman says she's in AA, she's been sober for a while, and she starts, you know, telling me her story, and I feel comfortable. And so I, out of guilt, seeing this guy be taken to the hospital, I say, I also took some stuff, and
What an earnest kid you are.
just like the guy at the store, I'm calling your mom right now. So she goes inside, she calls my mom. I said, "You're not doing this. Like, you don't understand. Like, if you tell I'm gonna be in so much trouble." And,
and that's the problem. He never got into so much trouble. He needed to get into so much trouble. You know what I mean? Like, listen to that story. I was not doing pills with my friends at 14. What the fuck? What? We were hunting or fishing or playing basketball, but doing Percocet in the room. Now I know this is the U.S., so things are a little bit different. You know, kids be getting fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Woohoo! But I mean, shit. 14? I would expect a couple of blunts in the room. You get caught with some roaches around the house. Like, what is this, son? You're doing pills? I did have one friend who was doing cocaine at like 15. One person I knew in high school who was doing cocaine at like 15. But even then, he was like a normal person. Like, he did coke every once in a while. He wasn't like crazy like this. But anyways, that's what landed him in rehab the first time. And apparently, he started doing the hard shit around 15. The hard shit. I think that's even crazier.
You don't have the authority. She's like, I'm doing it. Yeah. So my mom arrives, and as my mom's getting there, I'm like, okay, mom, let's try to get out of here. Let's go. Yeah. And she's like, don't you have something to tell your mother? I was seconds away from not being in tragedy, and this stringy-haired bitch who just says to me, can you please come back here? And so I have to explain to my mom that, you know, what had happened, and my mom being a hysterical...
So you were taking pills and your friend fell out.
Yeah, and that I had taken them too. And my mom being a hysterical Jewish mother, she, you know, rushed me to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. It turns out that this kid was already in an outpatient rehab and should have been staying sober, and, you know, I didn't know any of that. Yeah. And he got sent to this place called Visions. Yeah. And to make a long story short...
They sent you there.
I got tricked into getting
Was he
sent
there when you went there?
There was two different facilities. We both got sent there. Yeah. And my roommate was a heroin addict. So before I even went to rehab, I had never sniffed coke. I'd only smoked pot. I'd taken ecstasy. I dropped acid. But when I hear for 126 days how good shooting up heroin is,
that's what's going to happen
every single night. You're going to tell me I'm not going to go out and try fucking heroin?
And this...
No. Absolutely not. I've heard that it's a warm blanket coming down your body, washing over you, and it's so euphoric. You never want to... I don't want to do that. Because I'm going to be on Skid Row smoking crack. 100%. AG Tactical's fucked up, y'all. Look at him. He used to have a podcast. We're not doing that. A warm blanket across my body? Hell no. No, that sounds too good. That sounds amazing. That sounds wonderful. No, thank you. Shit. I mean, it's like, damn. There's a saying about having too much pleasure. There's many sayings about too much pleasure. That's too much pleasure. We need some balance here. But anyways, folks, I just want to bring this to you, man. There's so much shit I've been reading and finding, and there's so much more interviews that we haven't covered yet. There's so much more situations. And on top of this, legal proceedings will be coming up pretty soon. So now that there's a pause in legal proceedings, it's given me enough time to really dig into this case. And there's a lot more to come, so stay tuned. But before I go, I wanted to read you this little article to where he talks about himself losing his virginity. He lost his virginity at 14 to a sex worker. Okay, and I'm going to leave you on this little cliffhanger because we got to get up out of here soon. But it says here in the article by Page 6, Nick Reiner once admitted to losing his virginity to a sex worker he paid with stolen money from his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, years before his arrest to their tragic deaths. And again, I made a mistake in the other video. Michelle is his mother. And then he quotes, I was just looking at the different Craigslist profiles, and this one profile picture was just an ass shot. That's the only thing that there was of the profile picture, and I had a number. I called her up when I was about 14 something, and her going rate was about $200. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Basically, you know, he smashes a prostitute at 14 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm stuttering. If your son has a story about him losing his virginity at 14, okay. It's kind of young, but okay. Kind of makes sense. You were with Shirley. That was your little girlfriend. But if your son comes with a story about losing his virginity at 14 to a prostitute, holy shit. That's out of this world. Out of this world, brother. And again, I'm not blaming the parents. Rest in peace. You know, it's all over for them. So you can't really dig into them because they're gone. But it's really giving me the idea that he had no real structure, no rules, no nothing. I just called up the sex worker. She came over to the back of the house. We fucked. Sent her back home. I wanted to do it again, so I called her back. We fucked again. Sent her back home. You know, something's wrong there. And a monster was created. But I'll see you guys real soon. Stay inside, stay safe. I love you guys, man. You already know the vibes, man. Road to 100,000 subscribers. Hit the subscribe button. I love y'all. Peace.